get it. This is the first time in my life I've been told I need a microphone.
I know the feeling. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. This is a wonderful afternoon of a speaker sponsored by the Brain Health Team. If you don't know what the Brain Health Team is, come to a meeting, second Thursday, 10 a.m., conference room. We'd like to grow so much that we don't need the conference room anymore. So what we do there, we do bring in the speakers for anything having to do with any of the brain dementias, illnesses, anything having to do with that, culminating in October, where we get everybody hopefully involved in the walk across the Hudson for the Alzheimer's Association. So we work pretty hard constantly trying to get speakers and so on. So once again, second Thursday, 10 a.m., conference room. Now, moving on to today, I am very pleased. I've been working with Sarah a little bit for the last couple of months. On Sundays, I bring Lucy over to the health center, and she brings a lot of people joy and pets. Rubs on the tummy, I mean. So anyway, I've gotten to know, and also through the Brain Health Team, I've gotten to know Sarah. So please welcome our, Garden View program coordinator. And so she's busy all the time, so thank you.
All right, there we go. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, well, yeah, yes, let me stay near the mic, okay. All right, so I just wanted to first thank the Brain Health Group team. They do incredible work. You should definitely join if you're interested at all. They're all wonderful people, and we appreciate you for supporting our community so well. So thank you. Today I want to talk about the Garden View program. It's the activities and life enrichment program that we have here at Woodland Pond, and we'll just get into it. So first I want to start with some terms and definitions, some housekeeping before we get into the program itself. So what is dementia? Dementia is an umbrella term for a series of symptoms caused by various diseases. It's the loss of ability to think, remember, and reason to levels that affect daily life and activities. And some folks with dementia have trouble managing their emotions and other behaviors, and their personalities can change. I wanted to talk about some symptoms of dementia. Specifically, I want to talk about challenging behaviors. One major symptom of dementia is challenging behaviors, which includes wandering, anxiety, paranoia, agitation, and aggression. And it can be triggered by general confusion, frustration, or discomfort. So experiencing challenging behaviors can be distressing and harmful to a person living with dementia and their caretaker. And the frequency of these behaviors will increase as the disease progresses, which is why we provide dementia care. Dementia care is specialized support that focuses on managing symptoms and challenging behaviors, assisting in activities of daily living like dressing and bathing, maintaining a quality of life, and providing cognitive stimulation and life enrichment. Keyboard's right here. There you go. Yeah, sure. All right. You okay? Oh, you're trying to make that go away? Oh, I see what you're saying. If we can find our mouse, there it is. Yeah, good call. Thank you. All right. Oh, I see I've skipped ahead a little bit. All right. So dementia care, at Woodland Pond, we provide dementia care in Garden View. Most of you are pretty familiar with Garden View. It's our memory care unit here at Woodland Pond. Garden View is a specialized memory care unit that provides dementia care for our residents living with dementia. Specially trained staff, around the clock care and supervision. We provide a safe and secure environment and community based activities tailored to meet the unique needs of our residents. Okay. All right. So now on to the Garden View program. And here's a picture of a couple on Garden View celebrating their 69th wedding anniversary in our memory garden, which was very nice, very pretty. Okay, so the Garden View program. The Garden View program is a life enrichment program that is modified to the unique abilities, interests, and needs of each resident. We aim to build relationships and foster a community environment, and we focus on non-pharmaceutical dementia care to manage challenging behaviors. When someone's experiencing challenging behaviors, there are various clinical proven theories and approaches that we use. Of course, medication is an intervention that's used to manage symptoms, and challenging behaviors can be reduced in both frequency and intensity with a combination of medical and non-medical therapies. So the Garden View program is all about the non-medical therapies that we use. Well, how do we do this? I'd like to talk a little bit about the Garden View program's core values. We focus on person-centered care, strength-based care, and the question, what makes a fulfilling life? So first is person-centered care. We focus on relationships. We aim to know the person living with dementia, their family, their history and values, and how they want to live their life. Since dementia affects everyone differently, knowing the person helps us create an individualized plan of care. There we go. We focus on strengths-based care. We focus on the current abilities and skills instead of an individual's limitations. And by redefining what success means for each person, we support independence and overall quality of life. And now on to my favorite question, is what makes a fulfilling life? This is a big question. This question has a different answer for everyone. For me, a fulfilling life includes purposeful work, which I'm so lucky to do here every day, belonging to a community, being able to improve my skills and pursue my interests independently. Research shows that humans have basic social needs, which include independence, recreational activities, a sense of belonging to a community, and a sense of purpose. My undergraduate thesis was actually dedicated to answering this question in relation to dementia care. So if you have any further questions, I would literally love to talk your ear about it some other time. So we create opportunities to exercise independence, to make our own decisions, and in turn, experience success or failure on our own terms. We continue lifelong hobbies and build new skills. We belong to a community and we give back to our community. And we work towards achieving our life's purpose. Now we can get into the basic therapies on how we do it. And I'm going to start with music therapy. Actually, our music therapist is in the back, Cynthia. She's wonderful. Yay. So, including our almost daily musical activities, I personally have my guitar, my coworker Jane has her ukulele. We're always singing, playing music, having a music presentation on the TV. And we have our full-time music therapist on staff. Music therapy has been proven to promote wellness, manage stress, to express our feelings and enhance memory, and improve physical rehabilitation. And here are some photos of us in our garden. We have Cynthia in the middle with her dog May, and our guitar that we play daily. Lots of folk music. There's a lot of what we call emotional memory related to music and the arts. A couple's favorite song they would listen together, spiritual songs that support our religious practice, or a nursery rhyme that our parents used to soothe us that we later sing to our kids. Music is a powerful tool to calm all of us and support our well-being. Music therapy can fulfill our need to practice our skills, relate to others in our community, and to feel like we belong to a larger culture. All right. We have expressive arts therapy. So Expressive arts therapy uses writing, drama, dance, movement, painting, and music, all to manage symptoms of dementia. It assists in processing and expressing emotions, maintaining small motor function, and exploring complex emotional experiences. We provide modified art activities to accommodate all residents, and our art therapist instructs classes multiple times a month. So here's some photos that we have. We've got flower arranging, which we actually just did this morning. Went very well. We have a poem in the middle, and we actually used flowers to be painting some of the activities that we have up there. So those were fun. I'm going to go back. Okay. A common challenge for people living with dementia can be managing emotions. Dementia changes our ability to cope with overwhelming emotions and experiences. It will often take less for people living with dementia to become upset and overwhelmed than before. Creative expression can be used as a tool to help all of us manage our emotions. We seek to learn what forms of the art the person has always used throughout their life, whether it be painting, poetry, singing, or playing an instrument. We then plan music and art activities accordingly, an example of using our person-centered care. This means that lately, we've been singing a lot of folk music, reciting poetry, and painting on Garden View. We're always changing our activities to meet the interests and needs of our residents. Next is the Therapeutic Memory Garden. We don't realize how lucky we are at Woodland Pond to have a therapeutic memory garden. That's a huge asset for supporting people living with dementia. It's really a wonderful space that we have. So nature is intrinsic to our physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It can reduce stress levels, increase creativity, and improve our sense of wonder and social interactions. Even small connections with nature can reduce feelings of loneliness, isolation, and anxiety, and bring significant health benefits. So, last summer, we spent almost every day outside, all day. I got a really nice tan last summer. We raised butterflies, we planted and cultivated herbs, tomatoes, and peppers, and helped care and distribute flowers that were growing in the garden. We held most of our activities outside, including music, our garden readers club, and tea socials. We use the herbs and crops that we grow in sensory and cooking exercises and activities. And here we have, again, a dinner with some of our folks. Here's our garden readers club meeting for poetry. And this is an example of our herb boxes. So we have some sage and then one of our jalapenos that was growing here. We have several planter boxes in the garden that we are in charge of planting and cultivating. We're actually planting it right now. All right. And on the left, we have pictures of us planting flowers throughout the season. We don't just plant all at once in the memory garden. We try to space it out so we can have quite a few activities of gardening, and then we're always weeding and maintaining. We have in the middle our tea social that we had outside, and on the right, some folks were dancing in the middle of our poetry reading. Very nice. We also have pet therapy, which is a fan favorite. Pet therapy is a guided interaction with various animals, and pet therapy has been shown to improve mood, engagement in activities, social interactions, and even reduce the use of medication and symptoms of depression. So here's some photos of some of our pet therapy. We have a cat, Duffy, here to the left, and we actually use robotic cats often and robotic dogs. It can be a very useful tool for folks in the later stages of dementia, very calming, without the risk of a scratch or a bite. We also have neighbor corps folks that have been visiting us with their pets. We have Lucy and Ina coming, and the Goodmans have been bringing their dog, and Lucy Muller has also been bringing her cat, so that's been very welcome. All right. Next is our fitness program. So in addition to daily fitness activities, including Tai Chi, stretching, chair-based aerobics, and dancing, We have access to the pool facilities, just like everybody else. I go with folks on Tuesdays and Wednesdays to the pool, and we swim. You might have seen us there. Matt holds exercise classes on Garden View, and we go to all the great room exercise classes. Our walking group meets daily to ensure residents stay active. And an exercise professional named Ujala comes twice a month for Smart Bells, which is a safe way to lift weights in the health center. And we play lots of sports and yard games. And let me tell you, we are very competitive. It gets intense. Here's some photos of us golfing. Some things never change. Great form is one of those things. We've got ladder ball, which actually independent living folks taught me about. I didn't know about it. And now it's like one of my favorite games. We've got more golf, and we have a bowling set. We bowl often, and we're very good. We have a rubber ball, and we have regular pins, and we just set it up in the hallway, and we bowl. So in the back, I guess on your way out, you'll be able to see we have 4 shadow boxes back there. And shadow boxes are basically a glimpse that we hang on the wall of a person's personality, history, their identity, and their life. So research shows that talking with people who have dementia about their lives can create positive emotional experiences, reduce stress, and provide a better quality of life. The memory boxes can help produce these beneficial responses by connecting residents to what they love and to help them feel comfortable and happy. The shadow boxes support the development of relationships on Garden View by providing information about a resident's personality, history, and lifestyle. So we have a couple in the back that I would love to show you guys afterwards, and I can point out all the various things like their career, their favorite place to hike, a photo of their childhood home. All can be very effective. Okay. All right. And next we have family and friend video calls. We have the ability for all Garden View residents and their loved ones to schedule video calls. We set up a FaceTime call on our iPads that are on little movable stands. To ensure successful communication, staff supplies a tablet. We schedule the calls and we set up each call for the resident. As dementia progresses, it can become harder and harder to use the phone, especially a cell phone, and to accurately type in numbers on a landline. So to go over all of that, we do a FaceTime call and we set it up for them. And it's very successful to be able to see the person as they talk. So that's one thing we do. We provide about 17 video calls each week right now. And we have set up calls for special events like birthday parties, family gatherings, holidays, and even weddings. Here's some other programs that we have. You guys have probably seen us on Sundays for Diners Club in the bistro. So here we are sharing a glass that was apparently way too heavy to be cheersing with. And here's some of our friends at Bingo. So we have Diners Club, which is when we go to the independent living main dining room here. And I try the tofu eggs sometimes. We have Poetry and Garden Readers Club, educational presentations. We cook and we bake, especially on everybody's birthday. We always bake a cake. Sometimes we just have ice cream. We have aroma and sensory therapy and special events like birthday parties, holiday celebrations, and all great room activities. So I would love to invite you guys to join Neighbor Corps. If you're interested in volunteering for your neighbors, please contact Sue Close, who's in the back. I have her email on the next slide, or myself. And if you don't have time to volunteer or you can't make any strong commitments, just come by and join our socials. Our activities calendars are located in the health center. They're also online. So you can see when we're having a social and you can come visit a friend. And for Neighbor Corps, if you have a friendly pet, you play an instrument, enjoy gardening, or enjoy reading aloud, we welcome extra hands, so you should definitely come and volunteer. And I would like to thank all the Neighbor Corps volunteers who already have been supporting their community, specifically Martin Lavenhar, who's sitting right there. He's been hosting weekly socials and cartooning activities. and having a friend join us and explore art and often igniting a very deep philosophical conversation has been really wonderful. So thank you, Martin. And thank you to everyone who participates in the Health Center Committee and all the family members and loved ones who help support the program. Yeah. And I just wanted to end with my favorite quote. To care for those who once cared for us is one of the highest honors. So there you go. And that's my presentation.
Questions?
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Yes.
Can you tell us your background, please?
Yeah. So I grew up on Long Island. I'm one of 6 children. And my grandmother, who is an Italian immigrant, raised me, and she's wonderful. And I went to school, my undergraduate career in human services, and I specialized in non-pharmaceutical interventions for dementia care. So my entire undergraduate thesis was focused on the various therapies and other things that we do on Garden View. I was just lucky enough to do an internship at the activities department, and they never let me leave. So here I am. And I'm very happy. I love my job so much. I love Garden View and all of the residents, and I love Woodland Pond in this community. You're so special, and I really appreciate you. So that's my background.
Questions?
Ruth has a question.
Yeah, I just have a thank you especially for Sarah. With everybody probably knows that Clay is in memory care, and it's been really a wonderful thing to see you work and know you there.
Oh, thanks,
Really.
Ruth. Thank you. Thanks. Yaka, you have a question?
Thanks, Sarah. A couple of questions. One of them, some people have other languages that they manage. And I know that sometimes, I mean, going back to languages that you spoke maybe 50 years back,
Yeah.
it's something that it's useful. Both Leah, my wife, and I are Spanish speakers. We both speak Hebrew fluently. So do you have any use for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting because the first memories and first languages we learn are usually what last the longest as the disease progresses. So we have folks that speak fluent German and French and Hebrew as well. And it's very useful. So if you have a specific language that you speak, you can approach us and say, well, I would like to visit that person and give them the gift of having a conversation in the language they're most comfortable in. I've personally gotten Duolingo for a couple residents. I'm trying to learn various other languages because it is what we're most comfortable with. There's also residents that sometimes speak the same language like German or Italian or Spanish, and we'll sit them together and say, did you know that this person speaks this as well? And then they'll have a full conversation. I have no idea what they're saying.
The other question, which perhaps is related, some people here have background in science or technology and so on. Do you see any role for that?
Yeah. We do educational presentations often, both in just the health center in general and on Garden View. So if you were interested in coming by, any specialty or anything you're particularly interested in, it's interesting for everyone still. Martin comes with his skills in cartooning, and he shows us how he does that, how he uses the tablet. So if you wanted to throw together a presentation or just come and talk about an interesting topic that you wanted to share, I think it would go over very well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so there are like occupational therapists, physical therapists. Now, what would it be called, you know, a therapist like what you do? And are you supported by like Medicaid? Would you go into, let's say, group homes?
Well, the field is very vast. I'm an activities professional, and I'm certified in dementia care. There are there, I know Sue is a recreational therapist, a certified recreational therapist. So it depends. It's a very large field. But in general, yeah, sometimes, just like occupational therapists and physical therapists. I'm not sure about Medicaid personally, but
I can tell you that a while ago, since for my involvement with Shalom Space, I was asked to see if I can get for services in the health center, if I can bring in a rabbi. And I got a rabbi. So once a month or so, Rabbi Reno. Everybody should know Rabbi Reno comes in and does a service, and it's somewhat simplistic, and everybody is welcome, and it was very well received. So you got an idea, like we set up groups here. There are plenty of opportunities.
And something interesting about Shabbat is that folks remember those songs from so long ago. There could be so many things have been lost, but lyrics and spirituality, that'll come through anyway. It's really beautiful. So you should definitely join. We actually have one tomorrow afternoon in the Great Room. So
I have a question. What can one expect if Garden View looks like it may be something in my future? What is the process and what can I expect?
Yeah, so if you or your loved one has been diagnosed with dementia or you're experiencing some memory issues, we have a whole interdisciplinary team over in the health center as well as over here who you can talk to. The first step would be bringing it to Woodland Pond's attention and then going to a doctor for a formal diagnosis. But if Garden View seems to be a fit for someone down the road in the future, we work very intimately with you during the transition process of moving apartments and setting up a familiar space on Garden View and meeting staff and residents and trying to get to know the person. It's really important when someone begins to move, even if it's to any section of the health center, is that the staff gets to know the person intimately before, so we can have a individualized plan of care for them.
Do the residents in Garden View have access to the physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy programs?
Oh, yeah. Yes, absolutely. So most folks on Garden View are part of the physical therapy, occupational therapy, or speech programs. It's very, very important, especially to have occupational therapy on board with modifying someone's environment so we can protect their independence as long as we can. For example, if someone has a bed that is particularly challenging getting into and out of, we order a new bed and we get a railing and some strips on the floor to prevent falls and to make it easier for us to continue independently getting in and out of bed, but just having the support we need to stay independent. And that's just one example of how that team.
One more. What about the dietary provisions for this?
Yeah. So the dining team in the health center is really great. We have Tanya, who's our licensed dietitian, and Faith, who is our dining services manager in the health center. We have a lot of vegetarians on Garden View right now. We very recently just revamped the menu to have a lot of vegetarian options. We had this past week quinoa stuffed sweet potatoes and barbecue grilled tofu and black bean and cabbage soup. So very exciting things for the vegetarians specifically on Garden View. Yeah.
I have a question that involves everybody here. How many people here have visited the health center? How many people here fear the health center? Fear. How many people fear going anywhere are afraid of going to the health center? How many people here fear Garden View? When somebody says Garden View, you kind of internally cringe. I don't want to go. God, I don't want to end up there, whatever, however your fear is. Let me ask you, does this sound something like something you want to fear? I mean, we want to embrace all the options that Woodland Pond offers. And isn't it great? We kind of, even though we might not remember it now, we have something to look forward to. We're not going to be dumped somewhere. And that should be more of a fear than this, I would think.
Yeah, and there's no question that dementia is terrible and challenging and very tough. But on Garden View, there's a lot of joy and a lot of smiles and laughs, and we dance down the hallway and we knock on people's doors and have them, I'll sing a little song. I have quite a few little songs that I sing each person. We invite them in for a cup of coffee. We talk about our kids and what a pain they used to be and how we celebrated Christmas and Hanukkah. We paint. We go and practice our religious practices. We go to church and we go to the pool. We exercise. We have our own space. The apartments are beautiful. We compliment them to each individual. And we're a community. We're a group of people. We have a relationship with each other and we support each other. Even though it's extremely challenging, there's a lot of light and a lot of joy. And we would love for you to join us and experience some of that as well.
It was wonderful to see nobody raise their hand that they're afraid of Garden View. But many adults are stymied as to how they respond to someone who is dealing with Alzheimer and dementia. In particular, some advice as to how we can address and speak with those, not to make them uncomfortable, but to make it a worthwhile experience for both.
Yeah. So some tips if you were to visit, or I'm sure you all know someone experiencing dementia right now. Some tips is, be patient and slow, clear with your words, and not to make things too complicated. If you had a plan for the afternoon, well, we're going to go over to independent living and then go to the pub and we're going to grab a coffee and then we're going to grab a scone and then maybe we should go. How about we go on a walk together? Oh, where were you thinking of the walk? Maybe the pub. Well, what's the pub? Where's the pub? Follow me, we'll get a cup of coffee. Simplify it, keep it short. If someone doesn't recognize you, even though you've known them for a long time, back to emotional memory is that people remember the way that you made them feel. So they may not remember your name or how long they've known you or why they knew you, but they know that they feel good around you. And you can reintroduce yourself, take your time. Oh, I'm Sarah. We worked together for quite a long time, but I'm really happy to see you. Don't worry about all that. Let's talk about you. How are you? And just start the conversation.
I know how I got involved with dementia and Alzheimer's. It was my mother. Do you have something that linked you to dementia? Because it's something I didn't know you can get a degree in.
Yeah. So there's not yet a specific degree, more like I made the degree I made my degree focus on dementia care. And partially it was because I came here and experienced an internship with activities and social work in the health center. And I was very, very fascinated and thought there was a lot to do to further dementia care. And my grandmother, after having a series of strokes, was suffering from aphasia and dementia and things like that. And we had the honor of taking care of her. So, yeah.
From what I understand, people don't necessarily, it's a direct line as people progress through dementia, and it's like a jigsaw. It's like a wave. So people may experience, certain things, and then this afternoon, I mean, I go back and they're totally congruent and things like that. Can you comment on that?
Yeah. So dementia is different day to day, sometimes hour to hour, sometimes minute to minute. It really depends. The individual's mood and their personality, even what they want to do, what they're focused on. So if you were to take someone in the morning and say, hey, let's go on a walk for some coffee, and then you return to Garden View and maybe they go to the bathroom and they come back out and they say, oh my gosh, you're here. I didn't know you were here. It's so nice to see you. Sometimes that happens to me and we take another walk. So it's really about meeting them where they're at. It's very, very up and down and up and down. And as the disease progresses, it slowly gets more challenging, but it gets different. So there's always something that we can figure out to meet them where they're at and support them in the moment. Various different, you got to be really quick on your feet, very fast, quick thinking.
If somebody had said to me that I would be working in Garden View with 10 people every Tuesday afternoon, I would have told them they're out of their mind. It took me 3 years to get there. We've been here 3 years. I think the first time I went over to the health center was after a year, and I did it with trepidation. The question that you asked before about how we felt about going there, well, there's two levels of that. One is, how do we feel about going there as a guest, and how do we feel going there as a patient?
Yeah.
The distinction is pretty clear. I thought I would, if somebody hadn't had a table asking for volunteers, the Neighbor Corps people, I would probably still never gone over there. Now, having said that, Sarah can back me up on this. We have such a good time over there on Tuesday afternoon. Sometimes I go over there and I figure I'm going to be there an hour. And I'm 2.5 hours later, we're still going. And I've got to say, folks, I've got to leave. 2 weeks ago, we had a guest, a daughter of one of the people who was a researcher in, was it hormones or something?
Yeah, she researched in her PhD. I don't remember where. Hyenas.
But I think on hyenas. And you wouldn't believe the fun we had talking about. To me, that was I've been doing this probably 2 or 3 months now. So I've been there maybe 12 times.
Yeah.
That was the most fun I've had. Having said that, it's really easier for me to deal with the issues that we have there if I have somebody else come with me. It's only happened once, but I realized how important it is for me to be able to play off somebody who they've never seen before, because there are stories that person can tell, or things that person can do for them that I can't do. I can tell them stories. I can keep conversations going. I can bring back memories. And one of the things that's really great about it, I can tell the same story week after week. I'm serious. There's one fellow over there had a birthday 2 months ago, and I asked him how old he was, and he said, I don't know, but I was born in 1937, I think he said. And I said, oh, that's great. I was born in 1936, so I'm a year younger than you are. So you're 87. I have reprised that statement every time I go over there. And every time I say it, we laugh. I mean, I say it with humor, so but it's really been fun.
Yeah. I think you touched on so many great things. One is that it's really important that you guys do visit. We're one big community. We'll come over even if you see us in the pub. Some folks always stop by, which is really nice to say hi to everybody. But even coming and joining our socials, it really is fun. And I know all the tips and tricks because we've had the conversation 100 times before.
Oh, it's really great. It's really great when Sarah's there. When she's in the room, the two of us, it's really, I remember somebody saying to me, people with dementia remember things first in, last out. They remember things from the past. There are people there that can talk about the Second World War, but can't tell me what they had for breakfast or what they had for lunch. And I come in there at 1 o'clock. It's really an interesting experience. Never thought I'd be doing this.
Yeah, and we really appreciate you coming. And Martin comes and he'll start talking about a TED Talk, and we're off to the races. It's great. It's really wonderful. Yeah. And it's also with modifying our idea of success. For some folks with later stages, success for them during a social is sitting and listening and laughing. It might be really challenging for them to participate and tell their own story perfectly, but to hear you tell a story and have them feel like they relate, that's part of feeling a sense of belonging to our community. And they're still a part of our community.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Sue.
As Sarah's talking, all these wonderful ideas are coming in my head. Well, I'll come up front.
Here she comes.
I'm Sue, Sarah's boss.
It's true.
I've been doing this for 30 some odd years. I have to say she's the most talented I've seen working in dementia care. We have an activities calendar, but with folks with dementia, it may not work today. We may not feel like painting, so we want to walk. Sarah's going to walk with them. Or if somebody's having a rough morning and somebody wants to go home or see their mother, Sarah will provide enough one-on-one and redirect the person and the hugs. And it's all very therapeutic and very well thought out. I wanted you to share with people, what does a typical day look like? Although a typical day is not the way it goes on Garden View. As I said, what's printed on the calendar may not be happening. It's based on where the people are at that time. So maybe you could share with folks, what does a typical day look like?
Well, I'll give you one example. I think about a month ago, I had prepared a cart full of materials to make sand castles. I was really excited that we had so much sand. I had a bucket full of water. We were going to make sand castles. I thought maybe it would be a great idea. I walked downstairs. Oh my gosh, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We want to dance. Oh, all right. Okay. We want to dance. I have things to make a sand castle. I don't want to make a sand castle. I would like to dance. I said, okay, let me get someone down the hall who also loves to dance. So one of our CNAs turned on some Frank Sinatra, and I got the gentleman from down the hall, and all of a sudden we're all dancing in the common room. We made no sandcastles, but it was way more fun to dance and do what we wanted in the moment. Sometimes we've got a yoga class, but they spotted my guitar and they'd much rather hear that than have to do some chair-based aerobics. So especially with our activities program, we are flexible because we're focusing on the strengths and meeting people where they're at in the moment. Sometimes I come onto the unit, or we've been there for a while, and someone will wake up from a nap and they'll want to see their mom. And that's really challenging and very emotional. And in that moment, I make sure everyone's okay, and I sit next to them and I go, okay, you validate them. You want to see your mom. So tell me, what color was your mom's hair? Oh, didn't you tell me once that you love to make lasagna? And you love to sit and call her each Saturday night, especially while you were at school. You'd wait on that long payphone line. And we talk we feel better, and then we move on, we redirect. So we talked about her. We got some type of comfort. That's what we were looking for when we're looking for mom. We're looking for comfort. And I moved, you know what? What's your favorite song? Let's find it. And we'll play it or we'll put it on the TV. And now we're calm, we're happy, we have happy memories. Maybe we've roped in a couple people sitting at the table. Well, tell me about your mom. Well, personally, my mom banned me from the garden because I kept eating so many tomatoes. That's a true story. So, it's all about, therapeutic validation therapy is what we call it, but really validating them, making them feel heard, and seeing if we can move away from what's challenging them at the time.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Besides the volunteers who come on to the unit, if somebody here or a family member wanted to come and take a tour or see in action what's going on, since it is locked unit, how would they make the arrangements?
Well, I think the easiest way would be, especially if you're looking for more visits, is you can contact Sue or I. I'll put our emails back up there, but it's just as everyone's email is here, it's first initial last name at wp@np.org. Yeah. Oh, I didn't put them up here. Sorry. Oh, wait, I did. Haha. So to contact us, depending, or you can drop by and ring the doorbell. So even though it's a secure unit, when you walk down the hallway to Garden View on the right, there's a doorbell. If you press it, within 30 seconds, a staff member comes and opens the door for you. Hopefully 30 seconds.
When someone gets really upset or yelling tantrum or even, I don't know, violent might not be the right word. How is it handled?
Yeah, there's so many ways that we're trained to deal with moments where people are extremely agitated, maybe they're a bit aggressive and they're really upset. As we spoke about in the presentation, managing emotions is really challenging for people living with dementia, especially as the disease progresses. So some of the ways that we do that is to control the environment. We'll try to maybe redirect them into their room where it's familiar and safe and calmer. We validate them. We hear what the issue is and we try to have them explain it to us. And we say, I hear you. You're right. Let's figure out how we can solve this together. This is where knowing the person is extremely important. Because knowing the person, knowing what they used to do to self-soothe and to manage their emotions, but also knowing their parents' names and their kids' names and their spouse's name, you can come up with a plan and a story to give them comfort so they can go from all the way up here and slowly come down. Yeah, there's a lot of different approaches that we use.
I know you said that they're not able to use the phone. And I know with my daughter, what they do is if I call, they say they'll get back to me. They use their own cell phone and they'll get back to me that way. And do all the residents have a one-on-one?
Oh, what was the first question? Does each resident have a cell phone?
Staff will say, we'll call you back, Mrs. Verano. So they'll use their cell phone and call me back with her maybe sitting in the chair or whatever.
Right. So we have phones on the unit. So we have them at the nurse's desk, one in the common room. And I think every resident has their own personal phone, whether it be a cell phone or a landline. We recently got a free grant-funded delivery of closed caption phones, which was really, really beneficial. They're much more user-friendly. It makes it super simple. We've programmed them, and it's a lot easier to retain information if you hear and read it. So what was the second question?
They all have a one-on-one.
No, our staffing ratio is really good on Garden View, and some families opt to have companions come in, which are privately contracted individuals that come spend time with the residents, maybe bring them grocery shopping or take them on a hike, things that we don't have the luxury of time with when there's 17 to 20 people on the unit. It's hard to do, a one-on-one activity or go grocery shopping with them. So sometimes people can hire outside companions.
Do you ever think that the reason, or is there any indication that the reason people suffering from dementia might be aggressive, or because I tend to think it's because they're trying to express themselves and
Oh, yeah.
they can't, and they know they're having difficulties.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as much as we have a lot of approaches for after somebody's already escalated, already up here, we have a lot of strategies to keep them down here in the first place. So, for example, if someone is having a challenging time speaking and they're trying to communicate a need, and you keep saying, "Okay, what are you trying to say?" Right? And they're going, but what I'm trying, and I just can't. And the more that they struggle and the more that you push them to make sense, the quicker someone's going to escalate, get really frustrated, be really upset, and then it can lead to really challenging behaviors, right? So some of the things that we do to keep us down here is, again, a calm environment. If you were trying to communicate a need to me and you were having trouble, and the stereo is blasting Bob Dylan over here, and 4 people are having conversations over here, and there are nurses behind us and they're passing out medication, there's too much going on. So specifically, you can tell, there's a lot of tells that someone's kind of anxious, they're trying to communicate with someone, relocating them to their room, saying, what do you need? Like, does something hurt? Can you point towards it? And just giving them the time and space and the attention with a lot of patience, you eventually get to the need. It's also good for knowing people. We have some residents that only stand up and start to wander when maybe they need the restroom and they don't remember where it is. Or we realize, someone's wandering near the sink and trying to figure out, let's get them a glass of water and something to eat. There's clearly a need that they're communicating. All behavior is communication. And as our verbal communications start to become more challenging, we get more acquainted to how to use nonverbal communication. If that answered your question. This is great.
A quick thing for those of us seeing and witnessing early onset. One of the symptoms is the repetitive question.
Mm-hmm.
And you've answered it, and you've answered it, and it keeps coming. What's your advice of handling that situation?
Yeah, repetitive questions, very common, probably one of the most common experiences. Sometimes it's the way that you communicate a plan, depending on how early on the stages are. So like the example before, we're going to go to the pub and we're going to get a black coffee and we're going to get a scone and then we're going to walk to the pack and then we're going to hang out there. And keep it super simple. If you have like 3 or 4 words, we're going on a walk to get coffee. Okay, we're going on a walk to get coffee, walk to get coffee, walk to get coffee. Having a complicated question, maybe if you have an easier answer. I also write things down. I have a lot of sticky notes and I'll hand them a sticky note and they'll think, oh, when is my PT appointment? And then maybe a CNA or a fellow resident even will say, oh, it's right there in front of you on the sticky note, 11:30 PT. When do I have PT? Oh, 11:30, I have PT. Just reassuring, finding different ways, creative ways that works for everyone differently.
What's the latest theory on addressing misinformation or the patient just getting things wrong? Do you correct? Do you argue? How do you handle that?
Oh, we're getting into my thesis territory. This is getting exciting. Okay. So for misinformation, like I said before, we're going to redetermine what success is. So the answer to your question is, what's the latest theory? The latest is it depends. We have two ways to go. There's reorient the individual or validate them. So actually, now that you've woken up from your nap and you're thinking, oh my God, where am I? I see that all of my furniture is in here, and I see that this lovely person is coming in to wake me up for what she's saying is dinner. Pretty sure it's breakfast. It depends there on each resident and where they're at cognitively, which can change day to day. If we were to reorient them, well, you're at Woodland Pond in New Paltz. Oh, okay, Woodland Pond. I know New Paltz. I grew up in New Paltz. I lived in New Paltz. Okay. And where am I? Why am I here? Well, we're in an assisted living community. We provide special support, and I have your medication here. We're going to have dinner with everyone else. That can work for some people in the early stages, but for some people, it will cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of paranoia, because the ability to understand and comprehend the new information you're being given. If you were to wake up right now, after this, took a lovely nap. Wow, she talked for so long. I'm exhausted. Let me take a nap. And you wake up with me looking at you, ready for dinner? You're going to ask, what the heck is going on? And you're going to want to know. If you don't remember how you got to this point, it's going to be really challenging to figure that out after a nap. So you validate, hey, I know this must be really, really confusing and challenging, but here I am. I'm going to sit with you. Let's talk about it. And you know what? Before we do that, see the restroom in here? Why don't you just, before we get into it, why don't you just use the restroom real quick? You know what? Okay, I'm going to go and use the restroom. And then we're going to talk, right? Yeah, we're going to talk. Then they come out the restroom. Oh, good. Great. And now they're calling us for dinner. Why don't we walk into the dining room and sit down? And I heard that we have beef today, and I know you like beef. So, you redirect and you slowly ease them back into the routine that they're familiar with. And that can help. It really depends on the situation. Validation is, for later stages, normally the way to go. It's much more therapeutic. If you tell someone who's looking for their wife and child, they think, my 3-year-old's at home. Oh my God, who's gonna cook dinner? And they're expecting me home, and I'm in Hudson Valley, you're telling me? Well, we lived on Long Island. So just trying to figure out, change it. Don't try to explain. Just validate how they're feeling, meet them where they're at, and try to get them to dinner. I know it's 2:00. Yeah.
One last question.
Okay.
People associate assisted living with garden view. Separate the difference.
All right, here it is. Technically, on paper, Garden View is part of our assisted living program. And that's to do with policies and Medicaid and things that are far above me. But what's specific between our memory care unit and assisted living is that we provide dementia care and that it's a secure unit. So those are the two biggest. Yeah. Oh, and Garden View is downstairs. It's across the hall from our skilled nursing facility. And assisted living is all of the second floor in the health center. So the difference is assisted living is basically as independent as possible with slight assistance, but Garden View, we provide specialized dementia care.
Okay. Does anybody now feel more comfortable thinking about Garden View? Okay. I would personally like to say that the people who work at Garden View are way up here. They are such angels. I got to tell you, the time I spent in Skilled, I got to watch a lot of, I was very lucky. I had the skilled room that faced the garden, and I got to look out at the garden every day. And boy, it was zen-like, it was peaceful. So garden view is not something to fear. I urge people to contact either Sarah or Sue and make arrangements to whether you want to go through, volunteer, whatever. So please, if you're interested, think about it. And right now, please, Sarah, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you,
Sue,
everyone.
Thank you. We have scheduled more programs. Brain Health has scheduled a bunch of things, whether it's for Garden View, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. We've got a lot coming up. Please, please always look at the calendar, join us, ask questions. Thank you, Brain Health. We've got Tom, we've got Pat, we've got Susan Smith, as opposed to all the other Susans. And so please feel free to join us, come to our meetings. Thank you all. I got to catch a bus, so thanks.